Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk a little bit about deer skulls. So we've had a couple of customers come up to us, want us to do some deer skulls. So we have this one here. Now this one is a store-bought deer skull. It's not an original deer skull, but the same applies to pretty much the deer skull itself. And so kind of wanted to go over a couple of things. I think you guys are really going to enjoy the way that we dip this, and hopefully if you have a deer skull, it'll help you out in getting everything lined out and dipped the way that it needs to be. So we're going to do this one a little bit different than the most of the others, but it's strictly up to you on which way you want to do it. So of course on this one we don't have any antlers or horns. Quick thing on this one right here is that if it did have antlers or horns, take some saran wrap, tape it up, aluminum foil, something to cover up all the horns. So you definitely want to make sure that you cover up all of those before you go to paint it or anything like that. Of course, make sure everything's clean, prime it, paint it, and then now here we are at this stage right here. So today what we're going to be dipping, customer wanted it done in a wood grain. So pretty neat concept. I don't think I've ever done a wood grain skull, but I think it's definitely going to look really cool. So customer picked up the wood grain. It's the SWG 271. I'll put a link in the description below so that way you can take a look at it as well. But I think the wood grain is going to come out really cool with it. You can kind of see on this right here, it is a little bit more open of a pattern. You can see some of the yellow tape and stuff like that that's in here. So really neat design on this, really vibrant colors and a lot of detail in this. So I think anything that you put it on, it's definitely going to look really realistic and it's going to look really good. So of course, like on something like this, we're going to have the wood grain going this way. But other than that, pretty much there's a couple of ways to dip the skull. And so in this case, what we're going to do is we're just going to hold it on this back edge right here, and then we're literally just going to hold it at about a 45-degree angle and then just dip it down into the water. And so of course a deer skull normally gets hung up on a plaque or a wall or something like that, so we'll come back in and we'll darken this backside in because it's not going to wrap all the way around, and then of course we'll have a beautiful wood grain finish all the way up through here. So we went ahead and done this in our beige or tan color that we have, and so with this that'll give it more of a earth tone and make it look really nice. So whenever you do have horns that are coming out like this on the actual deer skull, you want to make sure of a couple of things. Of course, tape everything off, and then of course the other thing is that if you go past these horns as you're going down into the water, you're going to get a lot of stretch down in this backside right here. Now, I'm not saying that that's not going to look bad, but it is something to definitely keep in mind whenever you are dipping that, because of course inevitably as you're going down into the water, then of course these horns are going to go down into the water with you. So you definitely want to make sure that you cut more than enough film for that actual deer skull if you do have the horns attached to it. In this case we don't, because this is a store-bought one, but customer's already got the horns, so he's just going to hook them on there afterwards, and then you've got a beautiful mount, and then you just use the existing horns if you're not trying to get an actual what is it, I think Boone and Crockett score or something like that with an actual realistic score. So pretty much on that right there, like I said, we're going to take this, because it doesn't have the horns, we're just going to dip it straight down. But if you did have the horns on it, definitely want to make sure that you even do it in 2 dips, or if you do it in 1, make sure that you know that there is going to be some stretch back in this area. Sometimes it's not a big deal, but other times it definitely is, so you might want to consider doing that in a double dip, to where you go up to here on the first dip and then you flip it around, you do another dip, and then you dip it right back into the back side of this, so then that way it comes up to that line right there, and then you're good to go. So let's go ahead and get this film laid out and get it on the water. So we said that we wanted the wood grain going up and down just like this right here. So as we're sitting here, it would have been great to be able to do it just like this, but of course we can't, so we're going to have to spin this. So because this is a 50 centimeter wide pattern, I'm just gonna go ahead and just leave this the width of it. Technically, I don't really need that much, but again, I'm not dipping anything else in it, so we're just mainly just gonna keep it just for that right there. So we'll give ourselves a little bit of extra on the back side, back through here, and then let's get this laid out and in the water. So set that like that, and then I think I am gonna go ahead and cut a little bit of this off. Again, you don't have to, but I'm gonna cut probably about 4 or so inches off of that just to kind of shorten it down a little bit. But other than that, we're ready to go. So let's make sure we got everything set and ready for this. Turn that on, let it run for a little bit, make sure that everything is completely cleaned off of the water itself, and that way we have clean, fresh, clear water, so that way whenever we can lay the film down, everything's good to go. All right, so let's get this in the water. So of course, we're just gonna hold this like normal, corner to corner, and then lay it down into the water. Now I'm gonna lay it down like this, so then that way, as I'm dipping, I can go straight into the water just like that. Now if you wanted to go this way, you certainly can. It's just strictly personal preference on that. So the tank right now is sitting at about 83 degrees, and then of course we're gonna have 1 minute on the clock, and so pretty much we'll pull our dividers in, get everything nice and contained as much as possible, and then once everything's contained, then we'll let the film soak, and then we'll be ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead, grab some gloves on. We're gonna give this, because this film did want to expand a little bit, we're gonna give it a little bit of area to expand, not much, but that's more than enough right there. So we'll go ahead, we'll grab some gloves on and get started. All right, so we got 1 minute on the clock. Of course, definitely always wear your respirator. With us doing the videos, it's really hard to, but always want to make sure you wear your respirator because this is a hazardous chemical, so you definitely want to make sure that you're always being safe. So let's go ahead and spray this. All right, so it looks like we got glass. Everything looks good. Everything's smoothed out, really nice. So now we're just gonna take this and we're gonna put it at about a 45, just like that, and then go straight down into the water with it. All right, so I went a little bit slower than normal, mainly because I wanted to make sure that because of all the area that we had to go around and over and all that, I wanted to make sure that we got plenty of room in, or plenty of film to go up inside these little crevices in here, all the way down into here, as you can tell, down into there, in there, and it looks like we got a really beautiful job all the way around. Inevitably, because this is shaped the way that it is, we're gonna have a blowout right in here. Not really much you can do about it. We're also gonna have the same thing right in here, but simple fix to that, we can come back in, we can take an airbrush in those areas, right in through here, right in through there, anything in the nose cavity if we needed to, and of course all the way up the back side right in here, make it look really nice and presentable, and then I think the customer is definitely going to love it. So all in all, I think the dip turned out really well. Definitely one of a kind on the deer skull. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna rinse it, get it clear coated, and show you guys the end result, so stay tuned. All right, so we've got everything clear coated, and I think the skull came out looking really good. Customer's definitely going to love it, so let's kind of show you guys the end result of how it came out after we got everything clear coated. So we came back in after we dipped it, and it had a few little imperfections, a few little spots that are going to happen. And so we quickly went ahead, we used the touch-up method with the paintbrush, and so we dabbed in a little bit of the film and touched up any little areas that might have been on this front section right here, so that way it looks 100% seamless, everything looks great, it all blends in really good. And then of course, the other thing that we've done is we've taken this and we have blacked in the back side of the skull. And so you can kind of see here in these eye sockets that we went ahead, and again, you're not gonna see hardly anything in this because it's going to be up on a wall like that, but it does make it to where it looks a lot more professional. And so we've went in and we blacked in all of these areas in through here, all around on these other areas in through here, and then around the back, just to give it a nice, clean, professional look. And then that way it doesn't have the film just coming up and then just breaking apart, and then you don't have anything on the back. Because inevitably, whenever you give this back to the customer, they can pick it up, they can hold it, they can flip it around. It just looks a lot more professional having it with something like this right here. But as far as the overall look and feel of it, I think it came out really good. We got really good stretch, or really good pattern all the way in through here, all the way in these crevices, all the way up and around on any of this area in here. And then of course, the part that didn't allow it to stretch down into here, we came back in again with the black airbrushed it in. And so now whenever it's hanging up on a wall like this, it's going to look really good. It's going to have a nice, subtle look to it in the areas that we couldn't get into, but yet it'll still look really good. Now again, you can do the same thing with the camouflage or anything like that that the customer wants, but in this case we chose to do something different, and we went ahead and did a nice wood grain, and I think it really popped really well. So we chose for the flat clear. I know we don't do that a lot in some of our videos. Most of the time it's always on a gloss clear, but we chose the flat clear, and in my opinion it has a really good sheen to it. It's not like super dead flat, but yet it's not, of course, a high gloss. It's more of a satin or a eggshell type of finish. You don't have just that super flat look to it, so it does have a little bit of sheen to it, and that's what makes it really good. So on this one, of course, we shot it with the flat clear, and I think it came out really good. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know we always do. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. We'd love to hear from you, anything hydrographics related, and let me know your thoughts on the deer skull. If you got any questions about a deer skull specifically or anything like that, or any comments on any upcoming videos that you'd like to see, definitely leave them in the comment section below. Love to hear from you on anything like that. Also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you subscribe to our weekly tips and tricks on anything hydrographics related. I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and this is how we customize your world. We'll see you guys next time.